I'm here. Because we get the live stream here, it takes time to set it up. Anyway guys, good evening. My name is Alan. I'm one of your hosts tonight, and welcome to another acoustic night at the barn. The format, hey, it's funny tonight, I don't have a mic to shout into, so, you know, number one, you have to deal with the loudness of my voice, and number two, my accent. Which is the worst? Okay, basically a format tonight is a little bit different because we've got something special tonight. Basically we just have one straight set, there's no break in the middle, just one straight set through. So I hope you've all used the toilet before you get on. It's only 60 minutes until, so it's not too bad.
Oh, it's just because we're all running away to watch the traitors, is it?
Oh yes! Shush, you're not allowed to say that.
You're not!
You're not allowed to say it. You can watch it in playback. You can watch it in playback. So most of you guys don't know here, and we do a show once a month here. Who's been here before? Oh, I don't have to sell it to you. So who's on the mailing list? Anybody not on the mailing list, basically sign up. There's a paper mailing list here. There's Facebook page you can sign up to. There's basically a QR code you can get onto our email list and sign up to, and then we'll be able to tell you of all the shows down the line. Okay? But next along the line, next is actually Harry Baker, but it's totally sold out, so it's pointless telling you about that. That's in February, but the next one down the line is Sweet Sorrows up here. 20th of March. Who's heard Sweet Sorrows before? They've been here before? Excellent. Excellent. You actually go to Ireland to hear them, don't you? Yeah, so there. Yeah. So brilliant. Go online, QR code, there's a website, go on, book your tickets on there, and we'll hope to see you at Sweet Sorrows. Also on that link, there's all our concerts down the year. There's quite a lot of them up there already. So if you want to definitely get a ticket and not be left in the Harry Baker situation where there's no tickets left, buy the tickets now. Okay, tonight we're really privileged to have something a little bit different with us here tonight. It's not like our normal acoustic night sessions we have. We're really privileged to have it, so we're quite excited tonight. It's a unique evening of beautiful original music, live music, beautiful original songs, live music and storytelling. And Janice Long from the BBC. Who remembers Janice Long? I remember when I was a kid. Who? Yeah. Janice Long, yeah. Janice Long from BBC said, "It's gorgeous, utterly beautiful." And I agree. I've seen one of the shows, and you're in for a treat tonight. So I'd like you all to give a big acoustic night at the barn welcome to Phil, Bill, and Nina. I've got that right. Phil, Bill, and Nina, Broken Instruments.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out when there are things on television. I expect we're not the first artists to say that well, a lot of artists have said, actually, recently, that they began a project during COVID. We can actually say we abandoned a project during COVID. It certainly had an impact on what we're going to do tonight, because it all began with this talented gentleman here writing a song, because he is a songwriter, and it follows that that's what he'd do. And this song had a certain feel, and as I would imagine lots of songwriters do, he looked into things a little bit more. And it kind of had this, how can I describe it, other than to say this kind of Jewish quality in the way the song was being formed. And in doing a bit more background work, he came across a book by James A. Grimes called Violins of Hope. And it's specifically about the violin and its players, and how playing the violin helped to save lives during the Holocaust. And this is a moving book, and Phil will testify to that. He gave me a copy of the book. We collaborated together on other things, and I read the book, and we both had moments where we had to put the book down and just try and get a grip of what was happening here and the stories that were being told. And he said, we need to collaborate. We need to do something about this. And we actually started off by writing a full-blown musical with, and I look around me now, a cast of about 19. Where are you? And you're here, and you will be in the play. But COVID stopped the full-time production, so they said, well, what time is it, Bill? Have you got time to rewrite it into an audio drama? And would you be kind enough to write it into a book? So we did. And we did an audio drama under COVID, guidance, and that has been aired, and it is still available, and the book is available. And we're delighted to say that actually the book called Broken Instruments, Recollections of a Luthier, is actually on sale at the National Holocaust Centre and Museum. And what a privilege that is, to have that book on sale there, seriously. So we did this, and we kind of couldn't do the full-blown performance, and I think the first performance we did, apart from in somebody's house and at a folk club, because I mean, we'll go anywhere. And we did it at the National Holocaust Centre and Museum. We had no idea that it would take off in this way, but it has. And we decided that we had to do it in whatever form, and so here we are, not the 19, but affected by 2019, and so it all had a part to play in bringing you the story of Broken Instruments. Music has many powers and many origins. It belongs to no one because it belongs to us all, whoever we are and wherever we're from. It is the common language of humankind. It is always willing to speak to us. It asks nothing except that we listen. The rest is up to us. Stories have power, whether they be true or works of fiction. True stories can be difficult to believe. Some tell of a truth that we would rather forget. In this story, we bring truth and fiction together through the writings of fictional character Ari Vander, musician, luthier and Holocaust survivor. Ari has decided it is time to tell others of his life-changing experiences growing up in a small village in central western Germany, but the events to which he relates are not works of fiction. There are many ways to tell a story. This is a story of hope and healing through the power of music.
The violin, or so they say, can sound just like the human voice, and in some way I can't explain, can somehow play our heartstrings, make sense of these things and feel your pain. I've heard it said that when you play, a part of heaven can come down, and through a melody just say all we never could do, all you ever wanted to say to me. Broken instruments can be mended, then they will play again once more. And the song once lost somewhere way back when will return to you for sure.
It is 1980. Ari is in his 70th year and about to draw his day's work to a close and say goodnight to his family of instruments arranged in rows on the walls of his Tel Aviv workshop. He gives them names, names that had been etched into his memory: Mendel, Mordechai, Yochanan. Ari would never assign a number to any of the instruments in his care. And when deciding upon which instrument to begin working on first, he will choose it rather than select it, lest the word select stick in his throat. In public places as well as at home, he will never sit on the right. And on train journeys, if a seat cannot be found, he will alight and wait for the next one. What brings a man to live by such maxims? It all began at a wedding. Ari is now a shy boy of 10, amidst a mixture of fuss, flamboyance, solemnity and joy. He clings to his mother, asking all kinds of questions. Why was a wine glass wrapped in a cloth and then stamped on? Why does everyone keep shouting Mazel Tov? Why does the rabbi talk about a heart-gladdening liquid and the crushing of the grape? Why did he talk about life's crushing moments at all? Why didn't? But suddenly, he is distracted. And how pleased his father would be that at last his son had finally discovered the voice of the violin. Perhaps now he would follow in his father's footsteps. Can you hear it? And become a violin maker and musician. He'd heard his father play, of course. His father played all the time. But what 10-year-old takes any notice of their father? But here, in these grand surroundings and on this splendid occasion, he begins to truly appreciate the unique qualities of the violin. Wasn't that the nearest thing he had ever heard to the sound of the human voice? The voice of the violin had entered his soul. But what about his heart? Across the room stood a young girl, craning her neck to see above the shoulders of the elders and get a better view of the musicians. Suddenly, eyes meet, then eyes look away. The girl's head was adorned with flowers. Her name was Rose. Never would you see such a transformation. In his latter years, Ari would have described that look as two stars colliding to form a new planet. And this is where he wanted to be, with this girl, in their new world. He was only 10 years of age. At an age of innocence, he hardly understood what was happening. But somehow he knew that in her presence, or even at a distance, he felt somehow more complete. He had to find a way of communicating with this mystery girl. He had to win her over. He expresses his hope. How have I? What could he do? Well, of course, he would learn to play the violin. He even took lessons from Mr. Spielman. Ari, here, if you will, Ari. Now, Ari, you want to play the violin very badly, don't you? Naturally, Ari answered yes. And you will, Ari, and you will. You will learn to play the violin extremely badly if you do not pay attention to what I am telling you. But Ari needed inspiration. And what better place to find it than the natural world, the wild world of the woods, where he would capture with his bow the sweet, scintillating sounds of birdsong, and before long, Ari became an artist in his own right at impersonating the cuckoo. Returning from the woods to his village one day, Ari randomly decided to play outside the open window of a house he was passing. A passerby threw him a coin. Ari stooped to collect his reward, only to receive the biggest kick up the backside, sending him headlong towards a door. Door and head collide, boom! And who should open the door to this red-faced and humiliated boy? It was Rose, the girl with the flowers in her hair. You have a very beautiful door. There's only one option available to him. He ran back into the woods, with his embarrassment coming a close second. He threw himself to the ground, buried his face in the long grass and steeled himself not to cry. This was a crushing moment for Ari. And things were about to get worse, for he had accidentally stumbled upon a Romany encampment. And the kick gave way to collar grabbing as their leader, Niku, hoisted him to his feet. Ah! It seems we have a spy in the camp, comrades, eh? I wonder, is he armed? What say you, Besnik? What say you, Nadia? And what say you, boy? Are you armed? Well, actually, he was. He had his bow, and he had his violin. and he would play it and win them over. He could see that they were travelling musicians, they were bound to appreciate him if he took a stance. He raised his bow. He placed the violin betwixt chin and shoulder complex. The bow descended to meet with the strings, and he played his heart out. First the cook, then the coup, then together in rapid succession, and then the big finish to complete and utter silence, followed by a chaotic outburst of uncontrollable laughter. But then, much to his immeasurable joy and relief, they all joined in, with singing, dancing, leaping and spinning in a mercurial Romany rhapsody. Oh! There have been many times back in his talented workshop where Ari has closed his eyes and relived that enchanting scene. Every corner of his workshop was filled with their music, and were it not for his tired legs, he would have willingly danced with his new love. And his new love was gypsy jazz. And this new love brought him closer to his younger brother Levi, who was already acquainted with this swing-style music. Ari had been hitherto unaware that his brother had been secretly learning to play the guitar. And as they grew into young men, and as they grew in competence and as skilled musicians, they did an unwise thing. They formed a jazz quintet. Unwise, because by this time a wave of unrest was sweeping across Germany, and jazz would become forbidden music. A time would come when a person could be arrested simply for being a Jew. And many families and musicians sensed this wave of unrest and took to the waves, steaming towards America in the hope of a better life. Ari's brother, Levi, was one of them. Brothers in exile, hope you understand. Things are getting bad here in this troubled land. They're taking all our jobs now. The place is closing down, changing all our plans here to drive us out of town. We're packing our belongings for a place we've never been. Scared about the future, scared of what we've seen. Sailing from our homeland to a better world out there, where brothers in exile, brothers in exile,
Sisters in exile, time for me to leave, for the safety of our children and my family. We're sailing down the river, I don't know what will be. We're sailing on a steamboat towards the open sea.
We're packing our belongings for a place we've never been. Scared about the future, scared of what we've seen. Sailing from our homeland to a better world out there, where brothers in exile, brothers in exile, but we should be happy. La 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 scared of what we've seen. Sailing from our homeland to a better world out there, where brothers in exile,
Sisters in exile,
brothers in exile, heading to America. Let's hope the journey's is fine.
Some of us are immigrants, and these are desperate times.
Bound for new horizons, we're in each other's hands.
Praying we'll survive this and reach the promised lands.
We're packing our belongings for a place we've never been. Scared about the future, scared of what we've seen. Sailing from our homeland to a better world out there. We're brothers in exile,
Sisters in exile,
brothers in exile,
sisters in exile.
brothers in exile. Levy prepares for America. Stubborn Ari stays, but he wants to give his brother a good start when he reaches America, and just manages to get to the teeming port of Cuxhaven in time to thrust into his brother's arms an Armati. This highly prized instrument had been in the Vander family for generations. Ari had only recently come into possession of it. What a sacrifice this was. He gave his brother strict instructions to sell it when he reached America. Ari would stay and play good German music. We're now back in 1980 in Ari's workshop. He has been busy restoring his instruments, and his writings have had to be temporarily laid aside. But now his work is interrupted by a telephone call from the National Music Museum, University of Dakota. Would he consider restoring an Armati? Now, let me see. Would I consider restoring an Armati? Would I, Ari Vander, consider restoring an Armati? Well, of course he would. It was a luthier's dream. He's dizzy with excitement and has to sit. And instinctively, he begins to rummage around in one of the drawers in his workbench where he keeps receipts and other paperwork. And he comes across a letter postmarked 1938. You see, the very name Armati reaches deep into the recesses of his heart, and indeed deep into the banks of the memory. Why did it take Levy so long to write? 2 years it took. He reads it from time to time. It helps him to hear his brother's voice once more. My dear brother, forgive me. I have been a little lacking in my enthusiasm when it comes to writing, but now things have had time to settle, I feel in a better position to send you some words of encouragement. I imagine that you must have often wished you had boarded that ship with me to sail towards the golden door. Have no regrets, dear brother. Celebrate. The German-American press report very little of the affairs in Europe, and I can say that this is such a relief to me, knowing that, as you predicted, things did eventually settle down. No doubt you are enjoying playing your proper music back in the concert halls. To be honest, Ari, many who took that Atlantic crossing have been expressing regret at leaving what we all considered to be our homeland. When we steamed into New York Harbor, we expected the Statue of Liberty to push open the golden door. Well, someone must have placed a blindfold over her eyes, because the door never really opened. Had she seen the faces of those hopeful, destitute Jews, I'm sure she would have shed a tear. It was a surprise to us that many American and German Jewish communities did not welcome us. You see, they were assimilated into the American way of life. Germany held no ties or connections for them. We immigrants, especially those who could only speak the German language, were seen as interlopers. Their inability to communicate went very much against them, and they were looked upon as being arrogant and ungrateful. They became victims of hostility. Their accents and appearance are the subject of ridicule. I suppose arriving on the shores of America at a time when the Great Depression was only just beginning to loosen its grip wasn't good timing on our part. We all believed that we were heading for a better life when we boarded that steamship. Which brings me back to that moment, my brother, when you stretched out your arms and placed that beautiful violin into my hands. I promised myself that I would never sell it, but sell it I did, and it saved my life, Ari. I shall never be able to repay you, but take comfort in knowing that you will no doubt see brighter prospects for the future by staying where you are. Your loving and grateful brother, Lady. Ari did believe that things would settle. Compulsory middle names for Jews. Ari Israel Vander. Passports stamped with a capital letter J for Jew. Policies, but non-violent. So long as he played good German music, he was sure to find a seat in the string section of an orchestra. And he did, for a while. There's a quiet now where we once used to play, falling silently at the end of the day. There's an eeriness and it's scary, it makes me shiver.
All the memories, things that we leave behind. Songs of symphonies, haunting melodies fly. All the tunes that rang, all the songs we sang are unfinished. Empty spaces, empty dance halls, empty pavements, empty stairs, empty streets and empty places, empty pockets, empty chairs. Songs of yesterday are still there in my mind. Echo far away as we leave them behind. Why do times like these always make me feel so uncertain? Empty spaces, empty dance halls, empty pavements, empty stairs, empty streets and empty places, empty pockets, empty chairs. Empty streets and empty places, empty
choose to play. For the moment, the German authorities allowed Jewish artists and musicians to entertain their audiences. But some audiences could get lively, and after a concert, musicians like Ari would waste no time in exiting the building for fear of becoming a captive target. In the streets, he could avoid becoming a target. In the streets, he could dodge danger. Or so he thought, in the winter of 1938. Late is the hour. Out into the night. Let me breathe a little. Clear my head. Take stock. Let the streets stretch out their arteries. Carry me homeward, warm-blooded, to a warm welcome. Not cold like some nights, but warm, like a friend who takes me by the hand and leads me to safety. Stop. What was that cry? Stop. Listen. I hear footsteps, but not mine. Footsteps. Children. Women. Men. Now they hasten. Who is running? Who is chasing? Late is the hour. Why does this city not sleep? Why do doors suddenly swing wildly open and windows break? Why do people flee, barefooted, some hardly clothed, dragged from their beds? Why do they scatter, run for their lives, while others lie motionless in the streets? Who begs? Who pleads? Who just gives up and sinks to their knees? Dark figures fling limp, lifeless forms into gravity's embrace. They hit the ground and add blood to the arteries. Red flows like a viscous river. Red, like the flames that now lick the sides of buildings until the hot, jagged jaws of fire bite into crystal squares, making them shatter. Take refuge where? Shop doorways gone. Alleyways no. Bodies lying the way. The synagogues or burning. Even the resting places of the dead have not been spared. Does the smell of death catch in your throat? Do you choke? No. Your breath has already been taken. You are out of breath, out of words, out of time, out of step, and you will fall in the streets on the night of broken glass. From that moment on, things could never be the same for Ari Israel Vander, who would tell himself that he would never play the violin again. Shattered glass, shattered doors, shattered homes, shattered floors, shattered windows, shattered plans, shattered families, shattered lands. God of refuge, I'm praying now that we'll survive. Shattered peace,
shattered dreams, shattered towns, shattered streets, shattered grounds, shattered homes, shattered stars, shattered futures, shattered hearts.
God of refuge, I'm praying now that we'll survive. Shattered peace, shattered glass,
Shattered dreams,
shattered doors,
shattered towns,
shattered homes,
shattered streets,
shattered floors,
shattered ground,
shattered windows,
shattered hearts,
shattered plans,
shattered stars,
shattered families,
shattered futures,
shattered lands.
shattered hearts.
God of refuge, I'm praying now that we'll survive. Shattered peace, shattered lives. Shattered lives. Ari now finds himself in the middle of an earth-shattering upheaval. And as a Jew, he would have to carry an unjust burden of blame. Blame for a decline in German culture. Blame for influencing the country's downfall. A blame that would lead to hate. But without music, he was in a kind of wilderness. He needed work. And for a while, he found a fragile protection from hate and hunger by playing good German music in the Berlin Orchestra. But all too soon, Ari was to witness the worst kind of hatred and hunger. By 1943, Ari was in Auschwitz concentration camp and hating himself for having gone back on his word never to play the violin again. Ari's in a shame at continuing to play. He felt like it would burn him from the inside. Be there with me now. You are exhausted. You are afraid. You are confused. You are showered, shaven, and uniformed in symbolic vertical bars. You have been separated from your family, and you are among strangers. Suddenly a guard bursts in through the barrack doors. Stay where you are! Now, does anyone here play the violin? Come, come, come. Come. This is no time for false modesty. We have little time. Does anyone here play the violin? Ari remained silent. One man volunteered himself, or rather a strangely choreographed shuffle of sideways and backwards movements made it appear that he had taken a step forward. The subordinate guard was ordered to produce an instrument. He scuttles away like a frightened rabbit and returns in an instant with his prize. The man is given the instrument and ordered to play. Play. Play for me now. How that man managed to play under such conditions and so beautifully was beyond Ari's comprehension, but play he did. And beautifully so. The guard was impressed and led him away. No doubt for some bizarre musical assignment. His name was Noach. But no one would have dared mention his name in that place. No one had a name in that place. Only a number etched into their very flesh, branded like cattle. A train ride in unventilated cattle cars had delivered its human cargo to Auschwitz. Standing room only. So tightly forced together were they that when the doors finally opened, the living spilled out into the night air and the dead crumpled like rag dolls. Ari recalls a man desperately holding on to his pregnant wife with one hand and a violin with the other. Eventually he succumbed to the beatings and let them both go. He was directed to a line on the left, with Ari, she to align on the right with the sick and elderly. They were never seen again. Like many who entered the confines of that place, sickness and brutal treatment meant a visit to the infirmary, but in reality the infirmary was a shortcut to the gas chamber. It was a place from where you could be selected. Ari would not have survived to tell his story had he not been recognised by one of the SS doctors. I know you. You are a musician. You play violin. Ari's heart rate begins to increase. You play forbidden music. You play jazz. Ari's heart is now pounding on the inside of his chest like a caged animal trying to escape. The doctor takes a chair and raises it towards Ari's bed and silently sits. You have nothing to fear. I love jazz. I was there that night in Hamburg. Your concert, your playing was sublime. The doctor then did an even more astounding thing. He took a piece of paper that he'd been writing on from his clipperboard and tore it in two. When Ari inquired as to what this was, the doctor informed him that it would have been his death certificate. The doctor then agrees to restore Ari to a level of health. Out of compassion? To a level of health whereby he could carry out the doctor's orders, which were to assist a woman from the neighbouring women's camp who had been granted permission to form an orchestra. Now, why anyone would want to form an orchestra and play for these people was again beyond Ari's comprehension, but what choice had he? No doubt the doctor had restored her to health because she was an accomplished musician. When Ari inquired as to the woman's name, the reply was fool. She has no name, she is a Jew. A secret meeting was arranged. Under armed guard. Be there with me now. A corridor of rough stone. A dividing fence of concrete and wire. A dividing fence of concrete and wire. But despite the distance, despite the concrete and wire, despite the passing of time, Ari knew immediately who this woman was. It was Rose, the girl with the flowers in her hair. It was all he could do to prevent himself from calling out her name, but a word did escape his lips. Mikhail! Mikhail! Rose. Rose had no time for sentiment. Rose was so brave, so determined. She had a mission and she wasted no time in dragging Ari back from his hate and self-reproach, explaining to him that by playing good German music to the guards and officers, she could save lives. She would form an orchestra of such excellence that they would make something positive rise out of the ashes of death and destruction. Better food, better clothing, better treatment, a chance of survival. Music can save lives. Rose's bravery and determination was such an inspiration to Ari. And shortly after their meeting, there came an opportunity for him to put Rose's theory to the test when he was ordered to work with a family of Romany musicians from the adjacent gypsy family camp. They were to put on a concert and he was to get them into shape, and he would be assisted by his now good friend, Noah, for they were short of a string player. What an opportunity this was! Ari had studied Romany culture as a young man, so as not to be upstaged by his younger brother, who was already familiar with gypsy jazz. What an opportunity this was. He knew about their skills as craftspeople, tinsmiths, horse dealers. He knew about their languages, their seasonal migration for work, and he knew about their zest for dance and music. Surely this would help him to win them over, and it did. The rehearsal was a resounding success, and he could have been back in the woods as a boy with the singing, dancing, leaping and spinning. He hardly felt the constant jabs between his shoulder blades from the butt of the guard's rifle as he was escorted back to his barracks. His ill-fitting clogs hardly stung his feet, for he veritably floated on air. At their second meeting, Rose was full of anticipation, eager to hear of Ari's success. She'd heard from the doctor that everything had gone exactly according to plan, and he was entirely satisfied with the outcome. What Rose didn't know, it was immediately after their meeting, the entire Romany family was sent to the gas chambers. Noah was ordered to play his violin while a man was being hanged. Ari's emotions are running high, once more with hate and self-reproach, but Rose would not allow such emotions to be her running partner, and she'd waste no time in dragging Ari back once more, reminding him of the symbolism of the grape and the wine at a Jewish wedding, how the grape must first be crushed before it can produce the heart-gladdening liquid, how life will have its crushing moments, but when people come together, life's crushing moments can be overcome. Then came a beautiful gesture from Rose. She took a tiny flower that she had found growing on her side of the dividing fence. And she held it out to Ari, and she said,
Look, Ari, in gentle hands it is not crushed. In hands that wear the golden band, it becomes a wedding bouquet. In loving hands, the violin becomes a marriage between the player and the instrument itself. Isn't that worth living for?
Rose, always looking for the beautiful. How do you make your music in the midst of all this hell, where darkness reigns beyond belief and evil people dwell? How do you find relief for just a moment in this place? How do you find it deep inside to plant one seed of grace? How do you play your instrument, not let your feelings show? The anger I would feel for them would break me soon, I know. I scream inside at everything. I'm at that moment when I just don't want to lose it all and hate things just like them.
I'm looking for the good things, though I know about the bad. I'm looking for the miracles and beauty that we had. I'm looking for the wonderful that only we can see. Looking for the beautiful that's found in you and me. I'm looking for the hopeful flower, listening for that sound, searching for the melody that no one else has found. For hidden in this mystery is something I must say from somewhere deep down in my heart. So this is why I play.
Can you tell me one thing, just how do you carry on when everything you ever loved is stolen, lost or gone? bitterness the sweetest cup. Let's drink it, then we're through. For there's nothing we can change here, nothing we can do.
I'm looking for the good things, though I know about the bad. I'm looking for the miracles of beauty that we had. I'm looking for the wonderful that only we can see. Looking for the beautiful that's found in you and me. I'm looking for the hopeful flower, listening for that sound, searching for the melody that no one else has found. For hidden in this mystery is something I must say, from somewhere deep down in my heart. So this is why I play.
Ari closes his eyes, and in his imagination he takes the flower and mimes planting it on his side of the dividing fence. He now knows that he has to plant seeds of hope back in the barracks among his brothers. Such was Ari's elevated mood. The grime and gloom of the barrack room seemed somehow hidden from him, and the emaciated inhabitants were like children, eager for a bedtime story. That was the answer. A story to raise their spirits. A story about a young boy, a young Romany boy by the name of Niku, which meant victor of the people, and which was the name of the Romany leader who had grabbed him by the collar all those years ago. Niku, victor of the people, a name to inspire, and a story of love, determination and reward. Mendel was there, Mordechai was there, Yochanan was there. One man, alone. A blanket held tightly around his wasted frame. Rocking, weeping, weeping. He rises. You talk as if the world were so full of promise. He challenges Ari as if to a fight. Ari knows they cannot fight, they are too weak, and besides, Ari stops him in his tracks by challenging him to tell his brothers the meaning of his name. Tell your brothers, Noach, the meaning of your name. Tell them the meaning of your name. Noach knew the meaning of his name, but it was so hard for him to say. It meant released. Mendel now interjects, accusing Ari of treating them like children. You chide us like children, Ari. And he was right. He was chiding them for giving up. A new story now spills from Ari's lips. A story about a boy desperately trying to reach for something that had been forbidden to it. Children can be defiant, can they not? Then why couldn't they? Captive though they were, weak and terrified though they were, broken in body though they were, that spirit, that spark, that flame that united them and made them who they were could never be extinguished. Each one of them possessed a place that no amount of hatred, hunger or humiliation could destroy. For those of us who've somehow lost our place upon this earth, and those of us whose voice can make no sound, for those of us downtrodden who've forgotten what we're worth, for those who have been trampled and knocked down, Michael, a new day dawns. Pintele, my friend, Yashir Koech, come what may, my brothers, Michael.
The world must know our story, and the world must must hear our song, so we can learn to live again once more. For one day soon the truth will shout, one day we will belong, and life return to how it was before.
Michael, a new day dawns. Pentelee, my friend. Yashikoech, come what may, my sisters. Michael. During his time in Auschwitz, if he'd have dared, when speaking with Rose and his fellow detainees, Ari would have used words of Hebrew and Yiddish origin, words like Michael, which is an expression of delight. But much more than that, it is about being brought back from death to life. Pentelee Yiddish, that spark of Jewishness that all Jewish people possess. It unites them, it binds them together. It is the very essence of being a Jew. Yashir Koech simply means may your strength continue. And in that place, they needed all the strength they could get. Michael, a new day dawns. Pentelee, my friend. Yashir Koech, come what may, my brothers,
My sister,
Michael. Michael, a new day dawns. Pentelee, my friend. Yashir Koech, come what may, my brothers,
my sister.
Michael. In that place, death clung to a person like a second skin. It couldn't be shaken off. It couldn't be washed away. It couldn't be covered up. What strength must have been required to finally escape its grasp? Many didn't. One morning the guards were particularly keen to escort Ari to his rehearsal barracks. They even opened the doors for him. It seems that his good friend Noach had got there before them. His lifeless body was slumped in a chair with a sign hung around his neck. It said, "I tried to escape." Noach, released. Eventually a new day did dawn. In the final winter of the war in 1945, when Auschwitz was being evacuated to evade the advancing Soviet army, those that weren't too sick, old or weak were forced marched westwards. When the Soviet troops arrived, you could tell by their faces they had no idea that Auschwitz existed. If Ari had possessed any strength to utter one word, it would have been Michael. And now, with an expression of delight, we are back in Ari's Tel Aviv workshop in 1980. Ari Vander, musician, luthier and Holocaust survivor. It is a good day, for he has almost completed the restoration of the Almaty. But one task remains, and that is to confirm with the university that this is indeed the genuine article. A meticulous inspection is required, and during this inspection, at the junction between the peg box and the scroll, Ari discovered an almost imperceptible indentation. This was indeed an Almaty, the very same that he had placed into his brother's arms over 40 years ago. It transpired that the man who bought the instrument later discovered its true worth and tried to trace Levi to recompense him, but Levi could not be traced, and so, as a gesture of atonement, he donated it to the National Music Museum. Ari never did find out whether selling the instrument really had saved his brother's life, nor whether any of his other relatives had survived. Many musicians did survive. Whether Rose was one of them, he could never be sure, because he never saw her again. And now you suppose that this story ends with a grand concert. And the instrument in the arms of the musician will be an Armati. There will be a concert, and the instrument in the arms of the musician will be one that was rescued from the rubble of Auschwitz. During its restoration, in the body of the instrument, there were traces of black powder. This powder was ash that had once fallen like dark snow from the tall chimneys of the crematoria, signalling the disposal of human remains. This instrument had been played out in the elements. It could only have belonged to one person. Have you ever been to Luthia's workshop? It is a place of work, wood and wonder, brimming with tools and materials of making. Maple, Norway spruce, ebony, rosewood, the fruits of the forest. And then there are the resins, the oils, the varnishes, their characteristic fragrances fill the air. But the most important tools are the luthier's hands. Hands that create, not hands that destroy. The very process of building an instrument is like a birth, a luthier's child, which when finally completed makes its first sound. Yes, a luthier's workshop vibrates with life. And this is where we leave Ari now, in his workshop with his family. A family restored to life again, given new voices and able to speak once more. Once broken, but now mended and beautiful once more. They are violins of hope. And we all hope that whatever instrument you play, it will be an instrument of peace.
The violin, or so they say, can sound just like the human voice, and in some way I can't explain, can somehow play our heartstrings, make sense of these things and feel your pain. I've heard it said that when you play, a part of heaven can come down, and through a melody just say all we never could do, all you ever wanted to say to me. Broken instruments can be mended, then they will play again once more. And the song once lost somewhere way back when will return to you for sure. From the ruins of a synagogue, the cantor song is ringing out. For one day soon the truth will shine. once lost somewhere way back when will return to you for sure. Broken instruments can be mended, then they will play again once more. And the song once lost somewhere way back when will return to you for sure.
Thank you. Your applause means a lot to us because of the story. We'd like to thank you for coming, obviously, and we wish you a safe journey home, but we want to send you on a way, safely on your way, with a few more thoughts. Let me say this. In English-speaking countries, we hear the word Holocaust. It is Greek in origin, and it means sacrifice by fire. The word Shoah is Hebrew, and it means catastrophe, and it specifically relates to the killing of 6 million Jews before and during the Second World War. There is a garden of white roses in the National Holocaust Centre and Museum, planted in memory of Jewish lives lost. The song that we leave you with tonight is called 6 Million White Roses. There's a garden in heaven, its own special place, a place of remembrance, just where the sun breaks,
Full of beautiful flowers, soft petals and thorns, and the fragrance that lingers till a better day dawns. 6 million white roses, and not one the same, each one of them special, each one has a name that won't be forgotten with the passing of time. 6 million white roses.
There's a garden in heaven where new seeds are set, sown in quiet contemplation, so we never forget.
Every life, every story, for how precious they are. May they bloom here forever, under heaven's bright stars. 6 million white roses, and not one the same, each one of them special, each one has a name that won't be forgotten with the passing of time. 6 million white roses. They won't won't be forgotten with the passing of time. 6 million white roses, 6 million white roses.
Thank you. Good night.